Hello and welcome to News Central Television. I am Dakbo Adigboye. The top stories at this hour. ECOWAS bloc lifts sanctions on Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso and Guinea. Kenya grey-listed in money laundering war. Egypt announces a $35 billion UAE investment on Mediterranean coast. Details in a moment. News Central now at this hour begins in West Africa, where the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has lifted sanctions on Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso and Guinea. The resolution was taken at the Extraordinary Summit on Peace, Political and Security Situation in the ECOWAS sub-region in Abuja on Saturday. Now, while the regional bloc said the political and targeted sanctions on Niger Republic remain, it lifted some financial and economic sanctions on Guinea and some targeted sanctions on Mali. Other resolutions reached include closure of land and air borders between ECOWAS and Niger Republic lifted, institution of ECOWAS no-flight zone to all commercial flights to and from Niger Republic also lifted. And the bloc also added that suspension of all commercial and financial transaction between ECOWAS member states and Niger Republic be lifted.
Sanctions, the authority has resolved as follows. The authority has resolved to lift with immediate effect the following measures imposed on the Republic of Niger. A. Closure of land and air borders between ECOWAS countries and Niger to be lifted. No-fly zone of all commercial flights to and from Niger is to be lifted. Suspension of all commercial and financial transactions between ECOWAS member states and Niger is to be lifted. Freezing of all service transactions, including utility services, is to be lifted. Freezing of assets of the Republic of Niger in ECOWAS central banks is to be lifted. Freezing of assets of Niger state and the state enterprises and parastatals in commercial banks is to be lifted. Suspension of Niger from all financial assistance and transactions with all financial institutions, particularly EBRD and BRID, is to be lifted. Travel ban on the government officials and their family members is also to be lifted. This decision is based on humanitarian considerations, especially as we are in the month of Lent and as we prepare for the holy month of Ramadan. The authority has also resolved to lift the sanctions regarding the recruitment of Malian citizens in statutory and professional positions within ECOWAS. The authority has also resolved to lift financial and economic sanctions on the Republic of Guinea. The authority has also instructed the President of the Commission to invite Burkina Faso, Niger, Mali, and Guinea to attend technical and consultative meetings of ECOWAS, as well as all security-related meetings.
To discuss this, we are joined by Bolu Michael B., Foreign Policy Analyst. Bolu, thank you for joining in. Let's start off with this. What do you consider the key factors considered by ECOWAS in deciding to lift financial and also economic sanctions on Guinea, and also targeted sanctions on Mali while maintaining political and targeted sanctions still on Niger Republic. What factors do you think were put in place to make this decision?
Okay, when negotiating, it's important not to put all the meat on the table, because why buy the cow when the milk is free? For all the four countries, definitely the most apparent issue or consideration is the neighborliness that exists within the ECOWAS region. They don't want them to leave. And, the sanctions being lifted are kind of different because it puts them in a stronger negotiating position. The biggest consideration for Guinea is different from that of Mali, is different from that of Burkina Faso. Now ECOWAS can go back to the negotiating table and say that, okay, now we've lifted this sanction. If you want the other sanction to be lifted, that could release the president in held hostage, or join back the bloc, or whatever thing they want to use to negotiate. So it puts them in a stronger position. They are not putting all their meat on the table that way.
Now, do you think that the resolutions reached would have any far-reaching impact on the political peace and also security situation in the sub-region?
Yeah, I think it's a right step in the right direction. I've been one of the major critics of ECOWAS for quite some time. I'm happy I'm speaking on the issue now so I can give them their flowers. I think it changes the dynamic of the entire region politically, because now real negotiations can resume. I've maintained that there's nothing shameful about an international organization misstepping and then going back to do the right thing. This is long overdue. And now that they're going to be having conversations, we expect that there'll be way forward in terms of the economics and the security of these countries within the region.
But don't you also think that this move, in a way, sort of waters down the influence and, of course, power, in terms of perception of ECOWAS? Because one would say, I mean, why retract, the sanctions you initially imposed when, of course, the reason for those sanctions still remain? I'm talking about the juntas in these countries.
The ECOWAS lead, the chairperson, has made it clear that it's based on humanitarian ground. They know that the public can have this sentiment. He has answered the question already by saying, "Oh, it's because of the Lenten season, it's because of the holy month of Ramadan, because of the humanitarian grounds." They see that it's like saying that the sanctions are working, but at the same time, we don't want people dead. We don't want people starving. So it's important, it's crucial, it's essential for us to lift it at this point. So they have a strong position and argument by giving that reason ahead of time.
All right. Now, can you provide some sort of insight, perceived insight into specific financial and, of course, economic sanctions that were lifted, particularly on Guinea, and the targeted sanctions on Mali? And how do these changes align with the overall objective of ECOWAS in promoting stability and cooperation in the region?
Yeah, the major goal of ECOWAS is regional integration. And, it's still an unfolding story. So I can't give super comprehensive insight on the rudiments of the conversations they had. The earliest news came in maybe around 17 minutes ago. It's an unfolding story. But based on what was in place and what the chairperson has stated in his speech, it involved the lifting of, the lifting of economic and financial transactions, the opening of the land and air borders, and other restrictions involved. So yeah, these are some of the rudiments, basically resigning some of the things that have been put in place before now.
All right, Bolo Michael B., thank you so much for your contribution on the news.
My pleasure, thank you.
All right. Now, the government of Qatar has rejected Nigerian President Bola Tinubu's request to visit the country for a business and investment meeting over legal disagreement. The Qatari authorities, in a letter sent to Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs, said that the Middle East country would not be able to welcome the president and hold the proposed forum intended to hold on March 2nd and 3rd. The Qataris said that the rejection of President Bola Tinubu's request for visitation for the Business and Investment Forum was due to the lack of a legally binding agreement between the country and Nigeria for the promotion of investment. The country, in the letter, further noted that its Ministry of Commerce had other commitments on the days President Bola Tinubu desired to visit. Away from that, let's also tell you that Nigerian President of the Senate, Senator Godswill Akpabio, has led a presidential delegation to the state funeral of the departed President of Namibia, Dr. Hage Geingob, who died on February 4th, 2024, at the age of 83 years. In a statement on Saturday, the media aide to Akpabio, Eseme Eyibo, said the trip is at the instance of the president, that's President Bola Tinubu, who had appointed Akpabio as the special envoy and leader of the Nigerian delegation to the occasion holding in Windhoek, the capital of Namibia. Now, a memorial service will be held in honor of the departed leader at the Independence Stadium on Saturday. That's February 24th, while the burial service will be held at Heroes Acre, that's Windhoek, on Sunday, February 25th, 2024. Nigeria's federal government has called on the nation's organized labor unions to shelve a planned nationwide protest, saying it is not in the interest of citizens. The nation's Minister of State for Labor and Employment spoke to News Central Television in Abuja, saying government is working round the clock to ensure that the agreements reached during its negotiation with labor are fully implemented. Now, News Central's Marvelous Obomanu tells us more.
The Nigeria Labour Congress, during a recent press conference, accused the federal government of foot dragging in its implementation of agreement reached in the light of the removal of fuel subsidy in the country, while the labor unions had declared a two-day protest to express their displeasure. Some Nigerians say this will not be in the interest of the public.
The current government are not acting promptly to demands of the Labour Congress. Maybe that's why the Labour Congress are going on strike. They listen only when they are pushed to the wall. When there is no threat on them, they don't act.
I don't think it will favor us, because the people that will come and invest in Nigeria, there will be they will have a fear to come.
A chart with Nigeria's Minister of State for Labor and Employment details efforts being made to implement the agreements. The minister says the government is doing its best to implement the agreements, insisting that it has taken steps in addressing the issues raised by the organized labor as it affects the Nigerian worker.
Most of those agreements have been met. Number one, on the issue of payment of wage award of 35,000 naira, government has paid up to 4 months as of December, and we are processing the one for January. And I'm sure that that is being processed as we speak. With respect to the suspension of collection of value-added tax, the Minister of Finance confirmed that that one has been suspended. On the provision of CNG buses and conversion kits, government had committed 100 billion naira and is in process. And from the last check, the contractor said that within few months that will be assembling those buses.
It is only fair that the Nigeria Labour Congress should give the government a benefit of that it will implement all the 15 points raised in the agreement and discontinue with their planned nationwide protest, as it will do the country no good. In Abuja for News Central, Marvelous Obomanu.
The Pro-Transparency Group, ready to lead Africa, has launched a mobile app that can help keep track of promises made by Nigeria's political class. The app, which can be downloaded on smartphones, was launched in the nation's capital, Abuja, and is expected to promote transparency and accountability in governance across the nation's 36 states. And of course, joining me on the news at this time to discuss this is God bless Tomori, President ready to lead Africa. God bless, thank you so much for joining me on the news. Now, you've, of course, your group has said time again that technology can sort of enhance good governance, can enhance accountability, can enhance transparency, and of course, can make the government accountable. How is this possible, and what is your organization doing about it?
Okay, thank you so much. The truth is that we now live in a world where a large majority of young people are connected to the internet. Of course, we're also taking into cognizance the level of connectivity within the local areas, but we see an uptick in that. If government is by, of, and for the people, we believe that the role of technology in enhancing its accountability cannot be overemphasized. So what we're doing with that, with regards to that, is what we have now done and shown to Nigerians, which is the Follow the Promises app, mobile and web app that we've developed and launched on the 22nd at the Transcorp Hilton in Abuja. It's available on the Play Store and the App Store, and you can download it. And we're currently piloting in 6 states across the 6 geopolitical zones. We're working in Sokoto, Akwa Ibom, Ebonyi, Gombe, Ekiti, and Plateau states. And what we've done is to follow the promises made by the governors during the campaign and work with those who live every day experiencing the actions, inactions, promises kept, or projects executed by these governors across these 6 states. So moving forward, we'll be expanding to other parts of the country and using technology as a way to get citizens to be involved in the governance process. They're able to tell their governors, look, you're working in this sector, you're not working in this sector, and all of that. So technology plays a major role, and we're just now trying to pioneer the idea of e-governance and e-democracy, whilst also leveraging people's civic technology, which is now leading to better accountability in government.
I mean, this is a major step. Of course, many will say in the right direction, which, of course, some have also advocated that technology also be, adopted in our electoral process. But that brings me to the question too, as regards the scope. We know that particularly at the, what I call it, grassroots level now, the level of computer literacy or IT literacy is pretty much minimal. How do you think technology, can be sort of, harvested to get to the least or the most minute, when it comes to the grassroots level, those that maybe are not as savvy when it comes to IT as many of the, young generation?
Well, I mean, for me, it's there's a lot of variables to that. So you have Glo, you have Airtel, you have MTN, and you have all of these businesses who want to make profit. They want to get more subscribers. So the more they're trying to achieve their business aim, the more they build cell towers in remote areas of the country. So the business imperative alone is helping the quick advancement of technology to the rural areas. We have more rural areas connected to the world today than we used to. And one of the things we've done is we didn't just build the technology and put it out there. No, we traveled to the communities. We trained people, and we designed the platform to be very user-friendly, easy to use. People in the rural areas were able to understand how to use the technology, report on it, engage with it. And we saw that the most important thing is the interest from those in the grassroots to be involved.
And this is the first time that in real time, people at the grassroots have something that they can use and engage government with. So that is just actually how we know that the scope will continue to grow. On the government side, we've also seen a lot of positives. I think when we were in Ekiti State, we had meetings with 3 commissioners, and we're looking at how we're going to, work with the states to ensure that all of these things are captured, as possible. And again, because we're also training people on the ground who are independently following the promises of these governors and giving this data, we're able to say, this is, like I said, the right step in the right direction. And of course, like you briefly mentioned, adopting technology in our elections. We also have our election technology called Follow the Result, which actually is a parallel vote tabulation technology that also gives results from the collation center and transmits that through a mobile app as well. So our organization is all about the new age, but also working with people of the older generation, that people of today and people of tomorrow. So the scope is there. We believe it's going to continue to grow. The business case for technology is always expanding. So we believe that this is definitely the right step in the right direction.
All right. God bless. Thank you so much for your insight. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
At this point, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we have more stories. Stay with us. A former Nigerian minister says the foundation of the country's problem is to agree that Nigeria is not a nation, hence the huge gap between being a nation and a country, which creates the problem of the country faces today. Now, the former Minister of Education, Obi Ekwesili, made this known on Saturday at the 10th edition of the public lecture held in honor of the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, that's Pastor Enoch Adeboye. News Central's Omolola Ololade tells us more.
Our present quest, lest we allow ourselves the luxury of a rose-tinted.
It is undoubtedly known that issues centered on nation building in Nigeria have become a recurrent theme of discussion among academics, opinion molders, and religious leaders, among others. It is not surprising that the 10th annual public lecture in honor of the birthday of the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor E.A. Adeboye, seems to lend support to this perspective as prominent personalities discuss the state of the nation while preferring solutions and way forward to the myriad of problems the country is faced with.
There is a long walk between being a country and becoming a nation. Did not become a nation. There was a necessity for us to transform from that expression of territorial integrity as a people into a nation of people with shared vision, with shared ethos, with shared principles, with shared beliefs, with common identity that is negotiated, with a sense of aspiration that is agreed as being our vision for the present and the future.
Other discussants at the public lecture also focused on the importance of everyone doing their part to make the country reach its full potential, while urging the government to give the people the opportunity to influence governance and policy.
We must decisively determine individually what we can do to salvage this nation and then begin to do it.
We are serious about solving the problem of Nigeria. We must be ready to get what she calls constitutional standard. We must have public leadership standard, and we must put right policy in place.
With this year's public lecture titled Rebuild, Renew and Restore, many believe that Nigeria not only needs a restructuring to turn things around, but a demonstration of a democracy that truly works. In Lagos for News Central, Omolola Ololade.
The process of obtaining the National Identification Number, NIN, for the first time or modifying the data has been trailed by hardship and frustration for Nigerians. Yesterday, the National Identity Management Commission held a retreat to strategize on how to serve Nigerians better. News Central's Bettina Mweli tells us more.
In January, suspended third-party services as part of a broader revalidation exercise aimed at streamlining the enrollment process and addressing outstanding debts owed to these agents. The agency went on to suspend the front-end partners, FEPs, from participating in NIN enrollment. The CEO of NIMC, Abisoye Koka Udushote, has clarified that the move was not targeted at any specific group, but was essential for maintaining data integrity in the country's identity database.
We listened to the public's outcry on some cases of extortion through the offices of the front-end partners. And that is one of the reasons why last year we had suspended them, to ensure that we go through the whole process again with them, make sure that whatever loopholes, which is basically the means to which they are basically extorting people, we're able to close those loopholes.
Giving Nigerians that assurance. It may take some time, but very minimal time. We are well aware of that. Some of the things that have happened in some of our centers are not things we should raise our head high about. But basically, we would raise our head high because we recognize the challenges we have internally and we are addressing them.
The need for many to also modify their data, such as date of birth, arrangement or misspelled names, or other forms of corrections, accounts for a significant percentage of the people congesting NIMC offices around the country. Similarly, many examination bodies, including the Joint Admission Matriculation Board, JAMB, have also made it compulsory for candidates to present their identity number for registration and identity validation purposes.
At the end of the day, we would like to see that all databases have been harmonized, and that gives us even more room for verification services to begin to take place. The system we're deploying is very tight. Now, there are also some other control measures in terms of physical monitoring of the FAP. The way we've worked it out this time is that each FAP is tied to a region, not in terms of operation now. Now, and even the mechanism we're employing is we're also employing the geofencing mechanism that enables us to know where each FAP is and what they are doing, besides the physical monitoring. Now that each FAP is going to be tied to an officer, tied to a territorial director, tied to a regional director, it's easier for that monitoring to ensure that extortion, if it's not completely eliminated, will be completely negligible.
You can use boxes, you can learn to improvise.
As Nigerians continue to grapple with the challenges of obtaining vital identity documents, the need for urgent reform and improved service delivery at NIMC offices across the country is increasingly evident. In Lagos, for News Central, Bettina Nwili.
The late governor of Ondo State, Olurotimi Akeredolu, has finally been laid to rest in his hometown of Owo. The funeral ceremony, which was conducted at the Cathedral Church of St. Andrews, had in attendance the Vice President of Nigeria, 7 and past governors, senior advocates of Nigeria, judges, amongst others. News Central's Bernard Akede attended the funeral service and filed in this report.
Aketi, as he was fondly called, is finally being laid to rest. The Cathedral Church of St. Andrew in Owo, Ondo State, the late governor's hometown, was packed full with family, friends, and well-wishers. While delivering his sermon, the officiating minister spoke highly of the late governor, but also used the opportunity to address the government officials present, urging them to pilot the affairs of the nation in a godly manner while making reference to the current economic situation in the country.
Life is brief and full of trouble, and I emphasize this word, full of trouble. It's like a flower which comes up today, and the next day it dries. It's like a shadow that does not last. You see your shadow now, take a few steps, you see it no more.
Serving and past governors defied party differentials to attend the funeral and pay their last respect to the late governor. Meanwhile, outside the cathedral, the Southwest Security Unit known as Amotekun, which was largely an initiative of the late Governor Akeredolu, had a display in honor of their patron. Wrapping up the funeral ceremony, President Bola Tinubu, who was represented by the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, sent his goodwill message to the family of the late governor and the good people of Ondo State.
Today we bid final farewell to a remarkable soul whose final station was as the governor of Ondo State, Arakurin Oluwarotimi Odunayo Akeredolu, SANCON. A man who in the theater of life stood as a fearless soldier for his people. A man who was unflinching in his dedication to their well-being. A man whose legacy is etched in the battles he fought on behalf of the people, leaving an indelible footprint on the sands of our shared history.
The interment that followed was only open to close family members, and other invited guests left the cathedral. In Owo for News Central, I'm Bernard Akede.
The Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, responsible for setting professional standards and upholding ethics in the Nigerian banking industry, paid a courtesy visit to News Central on Friday, 23rd of February. News Central's Perpetual Fasumi Peter was there and filed in this report.
Officials of the Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria, CIBN, led by Akin Morakinyo, the Registrar and Chief Executive, have commended News Central's contribution to public financial education and emphasized the importance of their partnership with the organization in advancing financial literacy across the country and beyond.
We see an opportunity, a gap, where we need to educate, to inform, and set agenda for people. I mean, that's the primary role of media, agenda setting. And so we see that opportunity partnering with you as we are talking. I see that opportunity to say, okay, fine. One of the things we want to do is mass education, public enlightenment. And we can work with you to reach the masses, especially beyond the shores of Nigeria.
Responding, News Central's managing director underscored the importance of fostering partnerships that benefit all parties, highlighting the current collaboration as an example.
The reason we're very, very emphatic about relationship is we're looking to grow with partners that like your own organization, so that by the time we're talking in terms of millions and millions and millions of numbers, then we are in a relationship, so it is not transactional. People you have relationship with, you stay with them, you stick with them. But those that are transactional, the day things begin to look up in a way, you tell them, oh, now we're big boys.
The meeting had several heads of departments in attendance.
Now, if we have a strong collaboration with you, it makes it easier for us to confirm, because as much as we love to create stories, we are more interested in being authentic, and having that actuality that once you hear it from News Central, you can go to court, you can go to the bank with it. So that's an area we will need your support and that collaboration to be strengthened.
So that collaboration and the partnership between News Central and your organization can be much deeper than just being a media partner. We can almost become like a full service 360 partnership in a family. So you do something, you move this way, we move together. And that's the kind of thing, as the MD has spoken, that we're very interested in.
In the grand scheme of creating content, if you're not on the cusp of what people
are talking about what's trending and what people need and how it's affecting their lives, it's very difficult for them to then enjoy that content. And right now, we're looking at financial inclusion.
The visit between CIBN and News Central was more than just a courtesy call. It was a promise to champion financial literacy. With both organizations united in their mission, Nigerians and indeed viewers from around the world can expect insightful, accessible information to navigate the ever-evolving financial landscape. In Lagos, for News Central, Perpetua Fasami Peter.
And on a very tragic note, one person has been reportedly stabbed to death with several others injured following a clash on Thursday night between rival youths in Ogba area of Ikeja in Lagos State. This has since led to the disruption of commercial activities in the area, leaving residents apprehensive. Marshal Anthony Onoye tells us more.
Residents of Oluwole Estate in Ogba, Lagos, southwest Nigeria, have witnessed what they say is a tumultuous disruption of peace and commerce from clashes between members of the Yoruba and Hausa communities, resulting in destruction of property and a tragic loss of life. A resident who simply goes by the name Lala says trouble began Thursday night when a minibus driver who resides in the estate was pursued by some unknown individuals suspected to be commercial motorbike riders, also known as Okada. In an attempt to evade his assailants, the minibus driver drove into the estate. Events escalated when the residents of the estate tried to intervene between the Okada riders and the minibus driver.
So the guy has to run to the estate because this is where he normally lives, this Oluwole estate here. Before we look, we saw this Aboki again with a plenty of Okada and dagger and knives. So they have to destroy Oluwole. So we have to send them out. By sending them out, they are just coming with a bike. There are more than 30 or 40 of. I mean the bike. The guy they kill. The guy is not even part of the people that is chasing them. It's just like, okay, what is happening? You know, Abe is a part of this place. He's living in the estate. He just came outside to look at what is happening. You know, on the way, the guy that draws bike with the 3 guys on the bike, he now carried dagger. He just took Abe in this same place. He took him from the back and come outside from chest. So Abe is not a part of the people that is fighting. He's not the one driving the Korokwe. He's just an estate guy, and he's a cool guy. He's not a wala guy like that.
We visited Abe's family, whom we met still reeling in deep grief. Mother of the deceased could barely speak to us on how she came to lose her 39-year-old son. Other residents who spoke with News Central emphasized the need for the state government to look into issues of such unprovoked attacks by people so far identified as Okada riders, mostly of northern extraction in the state.
Very painful. Aboki people is not good though. What they do is not good at all. Just came here and kill someone. Why?
Speculations are rife that, but for the men of Nigerian Police, Area G Command, who were deployed to the scene in the wake of the clash to calm the situation, some residents had prepared for a reprisal. The remains of the deceased, Abiodun Hassan, have since been deposited at the morgue.
Coming up on the news, President Nasigwe delays legislative pause by a week. We have details of this and more after the break. News Central now continues in West Africa, where Togo's President Faure on Saturday pushed back by a week the African country's legislative and regional elections, which will now be held on April 20th. The government had announced the initial April 13th date for the vote in early February, ending months of uncertainty. The electoral campaigns will run from midnight on April 4th through the end of April 18th. Opposition parties boycotted the last legislative polls in 2018, citing irregularities in the electoral list. This time, the opposition is preparing to challenge the ruling Union for the Republic Party. Now, they organized a voter registration drive. And of course, in business, Kenya has again been put under high watch for not having strong safeguards against the flow of dirty cash, joining 23 other nations. On Friday, the Finance Action Task Force, FATC, the global anti-money laundering watchdog, made a decision to put Kenya on the grey list, a move that is likely to hurt the Nairobi standing as the financial center of the region. The grey list refers to countries that have deficiencies in dealing with money laundering and terrorist financing. Kenya will be under increased scrutiny by the FATC, with the country expected to make critical changes to its financial infrastructure to reduce the risk of being a haven for dirty cash. Kenya, a financial hub in the region, has also been flagged as a regional hub for illicit gold, as well as a transit for drug and wildlife traffickers, with law firms, casinos, and real estate agents being highlighted as some of the enablers of money laundering. Egypt has signed a deal with the United Arab Emirates to develop a prime stretch of its Mediterranean coast that would bring about $35 billion of investment to the indebted country over the next 2 months. Speaking during a press conference, Egyptian Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouly revealed that the deal with ADQ, the smallest of the Abu Dhabi 3 main sovereign investment funds, is for the development of the Ras El Hakma Peninsula and could eventually attract as much as $150 billion in investment. The country has long struggled to attract large-scale foreign investment inside the hydrocarbon sector. In the financial year that ended in June 2023, net foreign direct investment stood at $10 billion. And in sports, head coach of the Super Falcons, Randy Waldron, has expressed optimism that his side will get the job done against Cameroon in their second leg encounter of the Paris 2024 Olympic qualifier in Abuja on Monday. The 9-time African champions were held by the indomitable Lionesses of Cameroon to a 0-0 draw in the first leg of their 2024 Olympic Games third-round qualifying fixture in Douala on Friday, while Jennifer had put the Super Falcons ahead in the 52nd minute. The goal was controversially ruled out for offside by Ugandan referee Shamira Nabada. Now, victory against Cameroon will see the Super Falcons face either African champion South Africa or Tanzania in the final round.
I can answer it this way. No, we're not afraid, and I'm not afraid. So my mind as the manager of the squad doesn't think in terms of what if we lose. Like, you always have to play to win. So I'm not. That thought's not even in my mind. But to the point of having fear, I don't think we have fear of anybody. We've, played the European champions to penalty kicks in the World Cup, and we played the Olympic gold medalists to a draw in the World Cup, and we played Australia to and got a victory. So we know we can play with the best teams in the world. So I think there's no fear. I give credit to Cameroon for the job they did, but there's no fear in our part.
Nottingham Forest boss Nuno Espirito Santos has confirmed that Nigeria star Olaino is unavailable for the Premier League outfit after his injury struggles at AFCON 2023. The former Wolverhampton Wanderers boss highlighted that Aina had sustained an injury during the AFCON semi-final clash against South Africa, which significantly impacted his performance in the final against Ivory Coast. Ahead of Nottingham's upcoming fixture against Aston Villa, Espirito Santo disclosed that Aina, alongside Willy Bolly and Ibrahim Sangare, will be sidelined for the match due to injury concerns. US-based Nigerian shot put athlete set a new African record of 21.63 meters in the men's shot put event at the World Indoor Tour final in Madrid. Enekwechi's marks at the mark, which also serves as an Olympic qualifier, was his third best of the season, just behind his own indoor African record set 3 days ago. He broke the indoor African record of 21.47 meters, a record set in 2001 by Janos Roberts of South Africa, putting together his best series ever in the event, with over 21 meters on every attempt. And that's a wrap on the news at this time. But before we go, another look at some of our top stories. We told you that ECOWAS bloc lifts sanctions on Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Guinea. We also told you that Kenya grey-listed in money laundering war. And finally, we said that Egypt announces $35 billion UAE investment on Mediterranean coast. Don't forget to send in your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number on the screen. You can also follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch us live on DSTV channel 422 Star Times, channel 274, Abo TV, and YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Dakwo and Digboy. Bye for now.